ride is here.
That plane is a Grumman C-2 Greyhound, and the Navy has been using these forever, like since the 1980s, to transport people and packages and whatever goods need to go from shore to the aircraft carrier and back. And of course, the first thing you notice is how loud it is. We're wearing these cranials, and actually inside the helmets we're also wearing the kind of foam earplugs that many of you might be familiar with. And you walk out, and this is day 3, and the big part of our trip is about to come, because you've got all this anticipation now as you are getting ready to head out to the aircraft carrier. And one of the big things is that, you know, landing on the aircraft carrier and catching the wire is kind of scary, and it's one of the very first things you think about when you sign up for this whole Navy experience. So it seems momentous enough that we stopped and we had a group shot on the way walking out to this plane that the Navy calls the COD, for Carrier Onboard Delivery. So, you know, we're taking the COD to the aircraft carrier, and I'll call it the COD from the rest of the time out here. The tailgate just sort of drops down, and you walk in and you board. Notice that all the seats are facing backward. The military says that's actually the safest way to fly or to land, but they never thought the flying public would go for it with the airlines. So when you get on an airplane, you seat forward. But on this airplane, we're facing backward. And the first thing you notice is it is just real, I mean, it's rough inside. I saw a wire on the floor, and then we made our way to our seats, and the seat back in front of you is all metal. The feeling here is just distinctly military. I noticed shortly after I sat down that there's this strange mist coming off the floor. Now, if you were to get on a commercial airline and there was mist coming out of the floor, you wouldn't stay on it very long. But none of the Navy people seemed the least bit upset by this, so you know, you just go with the flow. And then we got our flight instructions.
Hello, pressurization lock. These locks are right here have oxygen mask in them. All right, lastly, we're going to be taking a rescue landing today. Who's taking a rescue landing before? When you take a rescue landing, you need to kind of brace yourself for the landing. Right before we press the wire, come down on the boat, we're going to yell, "Here we go, here we go." At that time, I need you to put your feet firmly planted on the floor. Put your head against your seat back, kind of push back, and just ride it on in.
It didn't seem super cold in the COD, but I did notice that shortly after we took off, I could see my breath for quite a while. And again, it wasn't really unsettling because nobody who had spent any time doing this really seemed to care. So you just, again, you go with the flow. There's very few windows, one little tiny window that you could kind of see out. It didn't really seem like it was positioned next to any of the seats, and so I did my best. We did get a little heads up. All the crew waved their hands in the air, and we started bobbling, and I tried to hold the GoPro over so you could see the landing. You won't actually see it, but you can kind of hear and feel when we caught the wire, and you'll see my hand jolt there, and then we were down. And then the next thing you'll see is you'll see a little Navy emblem, and then then that's the wing that is folding up. And before we knew it, the tailgate of the plane was dropping down, and we walked out, and lo and behold, we were on the aircraft carrier. Walked by the guys who were out on the flight deck, who were landing all the planes, who helped land us, in fact. And we just sort of walked in a single file line, And the next thing we knew, we walked through a door, and there we were.
We are inside the aircraft carrier.